you. The implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, earlier scheduled to commence on July 1 this year, will begin in January 1, 2021. The Secretary General of AfCFTA Secretariat, Mr. Wankele Mene, says the new timeline consideration followed an assessment of the damage already caused by the COVID-19 pandemic globally and Africa in particular. The AfCFTA, endorsed by 55 countries, is expected to create a $3.4 trillion economic bloc with 1.3 billion people across Africa and constitutes the largest new trading bloc since the World Trade Organization formed in 1994. And with COVID-19 here, what is the way forward? I'm being joined by the Nigeria Acting Chief Negotiator and the Director General, Nigeria Office for Trade Negotiations, Victor Liman. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Liman.
All right, thank you, and good morning, everyone. I hope that you're keeping safe.
Oh, absolutely, we are.
Keeping well as well.
All right, so Victor Liman, in what ways has the COVID-19 affected the AfCFTA?
In so many ways. First of all, I mean, negotiations have been stopped. It's come to a halt. I mean, because you cannot negotiate under these circumstances where there are no free movement, where there are no free movement of goods, and where you have social distancing, and where you don't have airlines operating, not just within African countries, but also all over the world. So therefore, I mean, that is one way that it has affected it. Secondly, it has affected the AfCFTA, which was meant to kickstart on the 1st of July 2020. It has affected the economies, not only of African countries, but it's affected economies globally. The global economy is tanking. And you have tourism. I mean, it has grinded that to a halt. And you have the ports also are not working in full capacity. And you have particularly the Nigerian economy, and I will speak for Nigeria, it's at a total halt. So you would not expect the AfCFTA to still go on. Of course, no reasonable person would want to expect that to go on, even though in some sense there might be some level of virtual interaction, but that would not really serve the purpose and the intent of the AfCFTA as we would have expected that it should be, because you would expect to see a free movement area that is just starting that is meant to start on the 1st of July 2020. You would expect to see the dynamics and the mechanics and the tools that facilitate trade. Those dynamics and mechanics, they are not in place currently. Those dynamics, such as the ports, are not working in their full capacity. And you have the transport. The transport sector is halted. They cannot do anything. And you have countries that are grappling to understand the disease that no one has been able to understand how it unfolds, because the scientists are still sort of trying to interact with it. They're still trying to understand it. So to that extent, it would be logical to think about continuing with the AfCFTA negotiations as well as the implementation start there. You had mentioned Wankele, my colleague and my very good friend, an African brother of mine. Yes, he did say that AfCFTA might not commence on the expected date of the 1st of July 2020. I do agree with him totally. This is because all the indicators do not point to that. It would not be sensible for you to therefore want to trade under a free trade arrangement that is just kickstarting when export restrictions have been activated in about 54 countries all over the world with regards to essential medical supplies as well as other kinds of necessaries. So to that extent, therefore, I mean, it would be illogical to say that let's kickstart when the borders where the borders are all close across Africa, all the borders, including Nigeria, Ghana, all of these borders are closed. So how would we then activate? How would we then enforce? How would we then interact in an
Okay,
AfCFTA
Mr. Liman,
arrangement that
Mr.
is
Liman, let
meant
me
to
come in
kickstart
here. Let me
on the
come in here,
1st
Mr.
of
Liman.
2020? Yeah,
Mr.
come,
Liman, let me come in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now,
Yeah.
January
Yeah.
1, 2021 is being proposed. Is this date a confirmed date for the takeoff of the implementation now?
Well, frankly, I've been reaching out to the AUC organs, and as well as the AU organs. Nothing concretely has been said with regards to the implementation. They are still consulting with the Bureau of the heads of states and government. They're still consulting with the Bureau of the AUC as well. So we cannot say concretely. Even Mam Kelly, the Secretary General, who said I cannot say concretely because no official decision has been taken. As you know, the heads of states, the assemblies of heads of state and government, they are supposed to be the ones to decide on this because it's beyond this level. It now goes to that hierarchy, the highest hierarchy, to then decide on what they want to do. But that decision would be based on their consensus or consensual analysis with regards to the situation in Africa. First of all, they would want to look at, are we actually in a place to kickstart the AfCFTA when we are all battling to save lives? Are we able to kickstart the implementation of the AfCFTA when we are all battling to balance and to balance our economy, to at least plan for recovery and growth? And so what countries would be looking at now would be the pathways to growth and development. Therefore, this may not be the right time for you to tell countries to open up their borders because they're not even sure what they're opening their borders for. So it would be preposterous to then think about 1st January. However, that would also depend on the unfolding dynamics of the COVID-19. The realities are grim. No one can exactly put a finger on say, hey, this is how I'm going to solve COVID-19 issue. Anyone that says that, I don't know, maybe he's a joker. So ideally, you're looking at economic recovery. I mean, this is the 2nd quarter, of course, is gone. The 3rd quarter, you're not looking at the recovery. Perhaps at the end of the final quarter, the end of the year, or 1st quarter of next year. So no one even knows when we are going to begin to recover, not only from the economy, but also from from this crisis. So therefore, I cannot really sit here to say that yes, that date it's workable, or it's feasible, or it's practicable. But what I can tell you is that I think it would depend on the unfolding scenario as we go on, particularly with regards to the COVID-19. I think what is the most important thing is to look for a way of solving this crisis. How do we have enough testing kits? How do we have enough PPEs? How do we have ventilators? How do we address the issue of social distancing so that the economy can be activated, so that people can come together again, so that things can begin to work. Now, if we are not in that place of where this social distancing thing and the fact that people can gather up to 20 people, 30 people, or even 40 people in a place, it will be really difficult to put a finger on when the implementation of the AfCFTA would start. But I think this period affords countries the time to be able to interrogate with the internal dynamics, the issues that they are facing within their country, and to see what they can do, and to readjust and to ensure that before they are ready to trade under the AfCFTA, that they are fully and they are sure that when they open shop for trade, that they would certainly have something to trade with. Because currently, it's only essential products that are actually moving. Non-essentials are grounded manufacturing at most of at grounded machineries, factories. some of these machineries and equipments and factories, when they're shut down, it takes a certain period of time to also restart those factories. So it's not just one day that they come in and start operation. It will take some of them about a month or more to start manufacturing to the level of optimal requirement or need that
Okay,
they
Mr.
can
Liman.
then begin to think about profit margin or growth.
Now, Mr. Liman, do you see any of the Mr. Liman, please let me come in here. Do you see any of the countries opting out of the agreement as a result of the COVID-19 experience?
Well, that is not something that any country in Africa should think about, because the point now is cooperation, cooperation, cooperation. Africa needs cooperation more than ever before. And the COVID-19, although has, it's a big blow, not only to Africa, but to the world. But I would say here, with modesty, with all modesty, that it affords Africa the time to also rethink. It affords Africa to come together, not always depending on, foreign assistance or foreign corporations. I mean, we need to work together. So if there is anything that we need more than ever before, it's to see how we can create policy convergences, regulatory convergences, to see where we can trade more with each other, to see how we can begin to work to bring about innovation, to see how we can build technology hubs, industrial hubs, to see how we can begin to do things differently, to see how we can diversify into other development and growth pathways, and not depending on, for instance, in Nigeria, I think we've been wholly dependent on oil. I think that time seems to have passed. We need to be able to look at other pathways of development. Agriculture is one of them. Technology is one of them. Even the health sector is one of them. Services, telecommunication is one of them. Finance is one of them. So there's a lot we can actually benefit from the AfCFTA. So I don't think any country would want to really opt out as a result of the COVID-19. And just to add, I think what countries can actually do, which Nigeria has actually taken steps to do, is to place moratorium or suspend tariffs on certain essential products. Nigeria has taken that step, and I think other countries in Africa are also taking that step, I would imagine. So when it comes to essentials movement, goods across the country, I think that is already happening. So the AfCFTA itself, whether it kickstarts on the 1st of July or not, the AfCFTA itself would not affect how that unfolds, because it's already taking place. Essential goods are already moving across the continent, on a non-tariff basis.
Mr. Liman,
such as disinfectants,
Mr. Liman, we really don't have much time now. We really don't have much time, but in less than a minute, how far has Nigeria gone in the AfCFTA negotiations? Yes, we have signed, but we have not ratified. Could you throw some light on this in less than a minute?
Yeah. I think we've gone very far. We've gone really very far. But we need to put our house in order. You don't open up your house for someone to come in. Let me give an analogy here. For someone to come in, when you don't have enough space for them. So you need to create space to invite someone to come into your space. And let me just give you a sense of how far we've been engaging. In October last year, 2019, Nigerian delegation led by my humble self introduced the e-commerce protocols and protocol as an additional protocol that should be negotiated under the AfCFTA. So we've been engaging, and we are imputing and driving the process in spite of the fact that we have not ratified. And just so viewers would understand the ratification process in Nigeria, it's an executive process, really. So what happens is that the request would go from my office to the Honourable Minister of Trade, and then the Honourable Minister of Trade would send it to the nodal office. The nodal would now prepare a letter to that effect and send it to the council. Then the council will then look at it and then decide if they want to, if they want to ask for the instrument of ratification to be prepared or not. That if they agree, they would then ask the Attorney General of the Federation to prepare the instrument of ratification. When the Attorney General is done with that, he would now bring it back to the executive, to the FEC, and then the FEC would then approve it. And it is at that point that we can then take that ratification, that instrument of ratification, to the AUC, which is the depository, and deposit that instrument. It is at that time that it becomes ratified. However, domestication is a different thing entirely. We need to go to the National Assembly.
Okay,
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Victor Liman. He is the Acting Director General of the Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations.